Alright guys, just another quick tip is to always pick up other people's trash. This place has newspaper everywhere, beer bottles everywhere, just trash everywhere. I always try to pick it up because I think it does help. Landowners shut their land down all the time because place is looking like this. So I'm going to spend 10 minutes and clean this place up, and we'll see you guys soon. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It is the 12th of May. It's a beautiful day up here in Maine. I'm fishing a pond that went out just about 10 days ago. And where I'm heading right now is I'm heading to a stream that goes out of this place. Last time I fished this about 5 or 6 days ago, they were stacked up in this stream pretty well. So I'm gonna head down there, hit it with a spinnerbait. If I start getting them off a spinnerbait, I'm gonna slow down and fish it with maybe a jig or a suspending crankbait of some sort. So we're gonna get right into it and hopefully we find some fish. Alright guys, I'm going to do a quick voiceover. I had a mic failure for my point of view camera for the first hour or so. I'm heading to the first stream I fished for the day. Right there where that arrow was the first stream I fished. I fished in the stream and I fished the mouth of the stream and didn't catch anything. I had fished that 4 or 5 days prior, picked up a bunch of fish, but they had clearly moved out of that area. So what I did is I bared left and I headed down that shoreline for about 50 yards, and this is where I picked up my first fish. Right there where I casted to is a kind of a rock point. There's a bunch of big boulders there, and I think this fish was hiding next to one of them rocks. And this was the only fish I caught on that shoreline. Then I turned around and headed back and went and checked out another stream. I was just getting ready to head out of this spot, and this fish kind of hit it. Kind of looks like a little bit of a rock point. There's a big boulder right off the nose of my kayak, and he hit between that and shore. I didn't get anything over by that stream, so they probably moved off the streams would be my guess. I'm going to try 2 other ones and see, but that was just the first one I tried. Alright, we're going to head back this way. So really what I try to do early spring is I try to cover as much water as I can. I personally, I'm not a big fan of fishing really slow early spring. I will if I find a good pocket of fish, but I tend to not pound a shoreline and fish it slow unless I know there's fish there. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to kind of head to another stream and fish a couple rocky coves on the way, because that fish kind of came off a rocky point. So I'm going to see if that's a pattern for today. Oh, big bass under me. There's bass in here. I just saw probably a 4-pounder swim next to me. Thinking once we get down on that wind-blown shoreline, probably going to have better luck, just like we did last time. And this was stream number 2, and again, not a bite in this stream. I did catch a nice one 4 or 5 days prior to this, but there was nothing here today. I think the water had definitely warmed up enough that they had moved out of the streams. So I didn't fish here long. I just fished off to the left there. As you can see, that stream goes in, and there was nothing in there. So this is about 200 yards from that stream, and there's another stream off to the left of this. So this was the 3rd stream I wanted to fish. And this fish came probably 25-30 yards off of the mouth of that stream. And now I am right into the stream. As you can see, the stream goes up there quite a ways, and I fished all the way up as far as I could, which is probably right around 100 yards or so. And this place did have a bunch of fish in it, but they were just all these little tiny 1-pound bass. I didn't see any big fish in there. I didn't catch any big fish in there. This place was just loaded with a bunch of tiny fish, like this little bass. Tricky bass. Tricky bass today. Right. So what I'm going to try to do now is I just came out of the stream. I'm going to kind of paddle away from the stream and kind of let the wind push me along this shoreline I'm going to finish on. So maybe the fish are just staging out off of the stream a little more. Come on. Gotta find these fish. Gotta be here somewhere. So where I am right here is about 50 yards away from that stream that I had just fished. I'm paddling away from the stream, and that cast right there was tight up against shore, and I picked this fish up about 5 feet or so away from shore. And this is still a smaller fish. This fish is only about a pound, pound and a half. A little bit bigger than the ones in the stream, but still a small one. And this next cast here is right after that last one. Started tight, right up against shore, and about halfway in I snapped my rod there because it felt like something hit it. I thought it was a weed, but it was probably ended up being a fish that had come back and hit my spinnerbait. And this was substantially better of a fish and was the biggest fish I caught for the day. All right, got a nice bass. He's just sitting right below me. Come on, he's not hooked that good. I don't want him to go next to my rope. Oh, that's a nice bass. Come on. Yes, there we go. Right at the end of the day. I got about 20 minutes left. And that's the second fish, second cast. They were staged up on this wind-blown shoreline. I'm in a mucky bottom right now. In about another 50 yards, I'll be into a rocky bottom. But that's a nice fat fish right there. Yeah, sometimes you never know. You never know where the pattern's gonna be. You know, I fished all my normal kind of go-tos for this time of year, being the streams and the rocky shorelines, and they ended up being on this wind-blown shoreline. So sometimes you never know. But that was second fish, second cast. So I'm gonna fish this area for a couple minutes and then I'll move down the shoreline. And these fish aren't that far off of the stream. I mean, right where I'm sitting now is maybe 50 to 75 yards off of that stream I just fished. This wind is kind of awkward. All right, so what I'm doing now is just kind of getting set back up so I can cast to the shore. I want to be kind of right about a cast length away from shore. That way I can fish deeper and fish shallow. Our fish. I think that's a small one. Yep, that's a fish. This one I couldn't really tell. He was kind of coming right towards me. Just a little guy. Little guy, big attitude though. Big spinnerbait for that little bass. And that bass was probably 5 to 10 feet off of shore. Mucky bottom. I haven't hit the rocks yet. I'll be into the rocks here in another, I don't know, 30 yards or so. Alright, so I've had enough interest up against shore that I'm going to try throwing a jig. Just to see if there's any bigger fish that aren't wanting to travel, you know, for the spinnerbait. Just can't get bit off a jig today. I don't know what it is. I just fished this jig, I don't know, for 5 minutes, you know, 5, 6, 7 minutes, and nothing, not even a hit. Threw this thing right up against shore and just haven't been able to get a fish off a jig today. I almost thought we were kind of getting them with a spinnerbait up against shore that, you know, they go after the jig, but they have not wanted the jig today. Well, all right, I'm just about winding down, so I'm going to finish with the spinnerbait. I tried to get one off the jig, but just couldn't do it today. Just couldn't get it done with a jig. You know, they've definitely been into the spinnerbait a little more. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go get set up about a cast length away from shore. That way I can fish towards shore, and a cast length away from my kayak out a little deeper. And then we'll be done. Got about another 10 minutes left and I gotta get out of here. Oh, that was a good fish. That just completely disappeared. And oh, that's a big bass. That was a big bass. There's one right up against shore. I casted pretty much right there with a jig too. These fish have not wanted a jig today. So what I was saying before this one bit is my spinnerbait disappeared and the resistance of the spinnerbait just completely disappeared. And then that bass followed up to the kayak, and it was a good one. It was probably the size of that last big one I caught. That was not bad. That was decent. Nice healthy fish. And I cast it in that exact spot with a jig, and that fish did not touch it. Right up against shore though. I mean, that fish was within 5 feet of shore, and Surprised he didn't take the jig. I mean, I casted right to that fish. All right, just about done. A couple more casts. Ooh, good little gust of wind right now. All right, guys, we are gonna call it good there. That is just about 2 hours. Not a bad couple hours at all. Unfortunately, you know, I found the best pattern, you know, the last 30 minutes, but that's how it goes sometimes. The fish are definitely kind of moving out of the streams. You know, anywhere from ice out to 14 days is when I find them in the streams. And we're right at 10 today. And I think the water's warm enough that they're kind of staging up around the streams, but just not in them. You know, most of the fish I found were staged up, you know, within a couple hundred yards of a stream. But not a bad day. Tried to get a fish off a jig, but they just weren't having it. I couldn't buy a fish off a jig. I actually caught one off a spinnerbait right in the same area that I tossed the jig to, and the fish didn't hit the jig. But not a bad day. So we're gonna call it good here, and we'll see you guys on the next one.